I'm going to get a timer up.
Take your time on that timer.
Yeah, man, I would like to get a call today. Make sure my ringer's up. I'm going to take it live.
Look at those. Look at those alarms. What's getting you out of bed in the morning?
Do you have that many
I
alarms?
have several, not that many, but I do have several.
I have one. Really?
Really, I only have the need for one. I have no idea why I have more than.
You
I've
don't
got a
set
lot of
multiple.
alarms.
He sets 8 to get himself out of bed.
No, I only need one.
Well, you know what? We can start the episode like this. I hate waking up in the morning, and it really doesn't matter what time I go to sleep. So that's why I have so many different alarms in the phone.
Yeah.
You want to get a zoom in on this?
What if you
7:23, 7:18, 7:23, 31, 37. Then I go wild all the way to 7:51. 8:03, because that's a big difference. 8:09, 16, 22, 26, 29, and 8:30.
I got a question.
You never know what you're going to want to do right in that window of time.
To get that alarm, that first alarm in the sequence to shut off, you gotta turn it off, right?
Well, I only set one alarm, then I snooze.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but that would work with just one alarm being set, right?
Well, but I may want to not have the first alarm go off until 3 minutes later.
Oh, depending on how you feel the night before
Yeah.
and what you have to do.
Right.
I understand that. See, I adjust mine.
If you've
Sometimes
ever doubted when I say that I get up and I run around the house to get out and it's down to the wire, that's proof, because
doubts
1 or 3 minutes makes all the difference.
What? Some of those are even numbers. Some of them are odd. At night, which one do you go with the most? Which one's going to get worn out first?
It depends if I have to take Rachel to school or not. Lately, Sarah's been doing all that.
Okay.
Thank you. She's in the audience today.
Hi, Sarah.
Woo! So I get to sleep in a little bit later. I'm going to say probably 7:37 or 7:51. Those are hot ones.
It goes 31, 37, 51. I mean, I've never seen anything like this.
Jenna comes and stands over me at about 7:10.
Is that the signal to get up?
Yeah, I really don't have much need to actually activate my alarm, and most of the time I don't.
So you wake up and
But
she's over you?
I do get adjusting it by a few minutes here and there. I mean, if I need to be somewhere at 8:15, that is going to strongly
Sure.
influence when I'm actually going to get up out of bed.
I have like the
bet.
regular wake up alarm, 5:45 a.m. And then my second alarm is a PM alarm.
5:45.
What are you doing, man?
I get up, I just kind of prepare for the day. I don't have like a real path that I follow. Some days I read, some days it's just a cup of coffee, some days it's just walk the dog. But I get up. Kids are up at 6:45, so that gives me an hour. to
Good
get
God, you've
get my
had a
life in.
full day before you even get to work.
Yeah.
I've been
you
awake
imagine?
about 23 minutes when I walk into the building.
Well, I haven't-
Sometimes less.
I have a drive that's longer than that. So I've got a 35-minute drive. So, well, hey,
A PM alarm.
yeah. So my PM alarm is when I forget, like if I'm like filling up the pool water and I need to set like an alarm 10 minutes from now, I'll go ahead and set that one. Or if it's like, don't forget to take out trash, that's my PM alarm.
You got to use the timer for that.
No,
dude.
no. I
I
don't
got a
trust
funny
it.
timer one.
Oh, you're
Okay.
So I like to really get my burgers and steaks dialed in when I
Okay.
grill. And I always use my timer to know when to flip them
Really?
and how long they were on the first side. And then I know kind of what the timer says. Then I'll take them off, based on when I flipped them. Sometimes I'll be at the next time to grill and the timer will still be going. And it'll be like 17 days since I last grilled. And it's
Just let it run.
That's going to be well done. You make it one of the, I think maybe the best burger I've ever had. Oof, now I'm going to insult my boys up at
I
JG
should
Mellon.
say, yeah.
But it's up there. But okay, we'll give it a tie.
Best West Virginia
Made
burger.
by Andy Hess.
Wow.
That's really one of the bigger compliments I've ever received.
I'm not joking either. We were on a little
mean-
trip together, went and played some golf someplace, and he was the chef for the weekend.
Wow.
And made burgers that were top notch.
Is it
Whatever
in
you
the
set your-
seasoning? Is that what it's in, or is it in the?
It had some good seasoning on it. It was
You got to
like a
buy the
lounge-
right grind.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that.
Okay.
You can get pretty exotic with that too. Like there are grinds out there that you.
And this is a seasoning we're discussing.
Well, the actual ground beef, man. You
Oh.
can get different stuff in there.
The
you can get
beef.
chuck. You can get, brisket in there. You can.
What's your preference on the mix?
I think ground chuck is the best for burgers.
Okay.
80-20.
80-20, right?
Okay.
80-20. And then sometimes you can get a little wild and throw some brisket in there or something, but you just never know. Like, and seasoning's important too, but you can get there a lot of ways. Lowry's seasoned salt will go a long way.
Oh, it's fantastic.
You know.
Always put that on the steaks.
Thank you. I'd like
Lowry's.
my lifetime supply of Lowry's seasoned salt delivered to the house.
You know, we've tried a lot of times to get corporate sponsorship by mentioning products on the podcast. We have yet to get anything. Not a single bite.
Should we see how many I can work in here?
Well, we can see. I don't know if we'll have to pay anything.
Well, we have to get more than 10 views, I think, to get sponsored.
Right.
What? That was as much of an insult to myself as you. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
You know how we're going to get there?
How are we going to get there?
With segments like In the News.
What have we got going on in the news?
Well, I'm going to read you a Dear Abby column because I just started laughing the second I saw it. But the first sentence, this is a nice friend. Is this even a friend?
So we've done this in real life. We've done this.
Oh yeah, this is.
Or we're just.
Some
this
people
is a
think
normal
we
day.
do this for the podcast. This is.
Yeah.
There just has to be cameras this time.
Listen to how this one starts. Dear Abby, my friend dresses like a slob. Good pal there. My friend dresses like a slob. We were on a cruise and went to dine in one of the upscale restaurants on the ship. Because she was wearing jean shorts and an old faded t-shirt, we were asked to leave. We will be going on another cruise soon, and I am concerned that she will do this again. Any advice for our next cruise so this won't happen?
You're both looking at me. I mean, first off, I just wouldn't go on a cruise.
Not your thing?
No.
Why is that?
And if you
Is
are
it a
the person that is not meeting the dress code on a cruise, she probably is a slob. Because I've been on a cruise.
Not the highest bar to begin with.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Well, there goes our Carnival cruise sponsorship I've been trying to get.
Yeah.
What's you don't like water, or is it just the
Oh,
boat?
no, I love boats even.
Yeah.
But a cruise
The
ship
activities aren't doing it.
is
for
not
you.
the same as Jeff Bezos' yacht.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this doesn't seem like a very hard question. Goodness, ask her if she could dress a little more nicely so we don't get kicked out again. That's not even really that rude, is it? Hey, remember last time, whenever we got kicked the hell out, maybe dress up a little bit more. I don't know.
I can see you coming to me and being like, hey man, like you can't wear the, Mario t-shirt tonight.
It's not my personal opinion at this point. We were kicked out. I mean, goodness
Yeah.
gracious. What do you think Abby tells her?
Mind your own business. Maybe pick a new cruise partner.
I think you got to tell her just to wear something decent.
Abby's real neutral. She's going to say something like, maybe make your own dinner reservations so Susie doesn't mess it up for you.
You're right. Normally, she's very neutral, but I don't think I can be wrong on this.
Okay, let's
I'm
hear
feeling
it.
total confidence.
Let's hear it. Would you tell the friend you just can't do this?
Yeah, I think it would be slightly awkward, but I think part of being an adult, you got to learn to master some awkward situations. And I'd probably just say, hey man, like you gotta dress a little different.
Because remember that last time.
Yeah.
Okay, so she says, Dear Embarrassed, before the next cruise, ask your friend what she plans to bring with her. Remind her that you had to leave the upscale restaurant because she wasn't properly dressed, and suggest she bring a dress or skirt and blouse on the next trip, quote, so neither of you will be embarrassed or inconvenienced. Ooh. Most cruise lines have a dress code that spells out what attire is required. If your friend checks the website of the carrier, she can easily determine what to bring. I mean, I got that one right.
Yeah, you got that.
There's a dress code on there, sir.
Well, yeah, right. But I mean, it's a low bar, like we said.
NASCAR of the ocean.
There's no dress code in the breakfast buffet. I'll tell you that much.
Just wear your robe down.
Which belt loop would you put that robe in?
Darn near if you just got your nether regions covered, you can get in that breakfast buffet.
I see. You ever been on a cruise, Jeff? Mm-hmm. Have you?
I have, yeah. That's why. I mean, I'm not just making this stuff up. I've seen the breakfast buffet.
I think I've only been on one though ever.
Really?
I'll tell you a funny story, and then we got to get serious.
Yeah.
I was Matt Walker and I.
Okay.
I've heard about this cruise.
This was a gift that his parents kind of gave to us when we graduated high school. Took us on a cruise together.
Wow.
We went to Key West and Mexico, I think.
That sounds nice.
Such a hothead. On the cruise at that age was a young Charles Jeffrey.
Ping pong.
Yeah, we started playing ping pong.
Okay. And then what could go wrong?
And Matt beat me, and I threw my paddle at him and wouldn't talk to him for a while.
How long's a while?
Oh, just an hour or two.
Okay, it's a cruise ship. You're gonna run into each other.
Now, when you've been through that together as young men, you can
Yeah.
conquer really anything, can't you?
I think so.
I've got something to add to that.
Okay.
When Jeff and I lived together in the dorm in college, at first we would play video games sometimes against each other. Sometimes.
Sure.
I remember this. Yeah.
And now we're great friends and have been for a long time, but after the third or fourth time of one of us becoming so mad at the other one that we literally wouldn't talk to each other for a while because of the video games, we kind of just started playing the games together. Like there was an NCAA college football game that went really bad, and there was a Super Tennis on Super NES game that I actually went out in the hall and beat a metal trash can.
Okay.
So that was similar to the ping pong event. I'm sure I've been Matt Walker in that
Isn't that a question?
exchange.
Let me tell you, I mean, we got to get going. But he's being modest. We'd play this NCAA football game on like PlayStation 2, and he would be beating me like 71-0, and he's using Marshall, and I have like Florida or something, right? I didn't even know. I couldn't control my guys. I was terrible at
Okay.
this.
Yeah, like he would like press the wrong button and his guy would dive.
Right.
And I was laughing.
So I was getting really steamed.
Okay.
Steamed like broccoli. Okay. Andy's laughing, of course, because I'm so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm getting really mad now. And I was like, stop laughing at me. We're sitting in these two lawn chairs
Which
in our
made
dorm room.
it way funnier.
You're
by
in
the way.
lawn
It was
chairs
way
inside.
fun. Looking back
Yeah.
now, it's one of the funniest things there is. So I
It's
was
way
like, I'm
fun.
serious. Don't laugh anymore. And then he was to be like, trying not to. And the very next play, after I had this little tirade, I like snapped it to my quarterback and hit the wrong button, and he just fell.
We're in a room smaller than this one, too.
And I knew how hilarious it looked. And I looked over to see if he was laughing, and he actually like had his like head down, like, and I could see his whole body just shaking inside of his clothes, trying not to laugh. It was polite. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Introductions, host.
I got one more about a video game that's actually pretty funny. Can I tell it?
Absolutely.
Let's just talk about this.
All right. So we also liked golf video games. There was
Okay.
a Tiger Woods video game like 23 or something. One of the features was you could make your own course of all the holes available in the game. Mm-hmm. One night, real late, we used to stay up late in college. I don't anymore, but we got this idea we would make courses and see how many holes in ones we could get on the course.
Okay.
This is long after we decided we would not compete against each other in video games, just a tacit understanding.
Do you
We just
remember
wouldn't
this?
do
No,
that.
this one I don't remember.
Okay.
All right. So Jeff makes a course, I make a course, and we're trying to get holes in ones with virtual Tiger.
Okay.
All right. And we're, we're having a blast. And at one point I'm like, dude, I don't think that's a good hole to have on there. Cause like the hole is not like in a good spot on the green to really be conducive to making a hole in one. It's not, some par threes, the ball comes back, it funnels in. And I said this like 3 or 4 times. I was like, dude, I just don't think that's the right hole for it. And Jeff looked over at me as angry as I've ever seen him. And
Okay.
he goes, don't you talk about my course.
And I was being serious.
Yeah, so
Oh my
all of a
God.
sudden, we were back competing with who had made the best made up
Yeah.
Tiger Woods golf course to make holes in ones on.
Yeah.
And then a few minutes later, all was fine.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. He's seen me do some stuff too.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I don't remember that at all.
It was
That's
a funny one.
I don't doubt it.
Well, so let's do some formal introductions really quick.
Okay.
Okay. Number one, who we got in the studio with us today?
I'm Andy
Andy
Hess.
Andy Hess. Andy Hess. And Andy, where do you work?
I work at Village Caregiving.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you do down there, Andy?
Well, I'm the internal lawyer. Sounds pretty cool. I never thought I'd get that title, but
Yeah.
that's what it is.
And so what does that mean to someone that's never dabbled in the world of law?
So I try to provide legal advice. We were talking about boats earlier. I kind of consider myself one of the rudders on the boat. Just try to keep us out of trouble.
Well, to kind of take a strange turn, what we decided to do is we set up a hotline where people's going to be able to call in and ask legal advice
Okay.
of you.
All right.
So you want to go ahead and get the first caller on the phone?
It would be great content. We might have.
How often, as a nurse, I get hit up every once in a while, like, hey, will you look at this? And I'm like, no, I won't. That's disgusting. How often do you get unsolicited legal requests of
like from friends or family?
yeah, like, is this idiot allowed to park on my yard? Like, stuff like that.
It does happen. It's not all the time. I mean, sometimes people just kind of want to talk about stuff too, you know?
Yeah.
But it does happen. And normally what I say is like, hey, you have as much idea about that as me because I, you know, you don't know all the law.
Yeah.
I don't hardly know any of it.
Do you recommend people Google law opinions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get a long way with Google. It's brought me to where I am right now. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a weird thing, legal advice. So
Yeah.
I try not to get involved very much if I don't know what I'm talking about.
I see. Did you always plan to grow up to become an attorney?
I didn't.
Is that in the
Not
the
at
cards?
all.
Okay.
No. You want me to expound on that?
No.
That was my first question also. Where did your interest in law come from?
Oh,
Well, I'm not sure I
question.
have
so much alike.
an interest in the
I don't know.
law.
Yeah.
Maybe need to cut that one out. You know, the reason I went to law school is I had an econ degree, and Jeff and Matt Walker were going to go to law school. They were ahead of me. I didn't really know what I was going to do with an econ degree, and I frankly absolutely was not ready to be in the real world yet.
Okay.
So I also chose to go to law school.
Based on that recommendation.
I don't even know if it was a recommendation. I was just like, hey, they're doing it. That'll delay getting a real job. That'll give me an opportunity to probably have a different job than I would now. So I just went. It's not like I saw, you know, To Kill a Mockingbird and was
Yeah.
like inspired or anything like that. Not at all.
Similar to me. How did you even choose economics?
Well, I think I started as a finance major, and I actually just liked the classes.
Why did you start as finance then? Why
this
business
is
school?
this is
Did
getting
your
in there.
parent advise you to be a good idea? Or
I mean, I had to pick something.
yeah, I chose the first one in alphabetical order.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was as random as that, but I really, yeah, I mean, I started down that path. And then, like, you know, it didn't really matter until year, like, 3 anyway, because you're taking a bunch of general
Yeah.
stuff for the
So
most
you
part.
switched to econ.
Because it was just kind of fun. And
I remember we took a finance class together at Memorial Hall, the famous building on University of Kentucky's campus. I think it was the only business school class we took because we were a couple years apart, right?
are you talking about Dr. Officer?
Dr. Officer. This was a professor, and this guy was so cool. Really, truly a cool, smart, interesting dude. And he gave this one speech one day, and we 20-some years later,
That
whatever
his
it's been.
friend.
Yeah, what was his best friend
His
who had,
friend who went to Vietnam, right?
and he died.
Didn't come back.
And he's telling this great story, and then he just pauses, and you could tell him in a minute, he goes, God, and I miss him.
Yeah.
It stuck with us so much. I'm not even trying to be funny. It was something that I'll never forget.
Yeah, there's a couple you know, the stuff you remember is not about the classes. It's like that guy was like giving him a piece. He was giving us a piece of himself. You know? He had a lot of good gems like that. I had another guy named Dr. Gillette who taught the econ, like the entry-level econ class in that same giant building with like 400 people. He had kind of a funny accent, but like he would always talk about just general life stuff for like 15 minutes before we ever talked about demand curves and stuff. And he'd talk about building people up, not break them down. Just coach us.
How about that? Isn't that nice?
Yeah. He didn't, that's nothing to do with economics, I don't think, but Build them up, don't break them down.
You're getting a real education there.
Yeah. Okay, we were on my interest in the law, which is very, very minimal.
You took a windy course the same way I got to law school. You just kind of kept wanting to further your education, and that's where it led. I mean, that's fine. Yeah. What about this though? Have you always been like a dig into the weeds, detail? Because a lot of that's what you're doing now in your roles.
I think it depends on how interested I am. If I'm interested in something, I'm gonna go way deep. I mean, I'll go way down the Wikipedia rabbit hole.
That you and Matt Walker are liking that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not necessarily the most organized person in the world to the outside eye, but I mean, there's a method to my madness. But yeah, I do get in the weeds. If I'm interested in something, I get into the weeds probably way too much, probably created more problems internally than it has solved problems for me, honestly. You get too far into the weeds in life and stuff, and you start kind of.
Oh, personally.
Yeah, right. Like you that's not maybe the best way to live your life.
Step
is to
back and appreciate more.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Do you? So some users or listeners may be confused as to. How did you guys obviously meet in college? That's where the story has to begin, right?
We didn't meet in college.
You didn't meet in college.
No.
So there was a time before college that you two knew each other.
I think we met when I was a freshman at St. Joe.
Okay.
I had gone to public school until high school. And
Kicked out?
No.
Okay.
No. And my parents switched me to St. Joe. It's a private school, private Catholic school here in town.
Yeah.
My parents wanted me to go to a smaller school, and I think knew a couple of people that helped run St. Joe at the time or something. So that's what happened. And I think shortly after that, I met Jeff.
You ran into Jeff in the hallway.
Honestly, I don't really remember the first time we ever met. I knew Ben Keenan actually before I knew any of the other guys.
Really?
Because
From school as well?
Yeah, Ben and I went to school together before that.
Do you remember the first time you met Andy Hess?
Fireworks. No, I don't. But I'd tell you what I do remember, and this is a true and special memory. No joke is that really it didn't make much sense for he and I to be friends because we were 2 grades apart.
Okay.
And I mean, so we had no classes together.
Yeah,
that
was weird.
Right. And no one else that was 2 grades above or below me that I think I wanted to really hang out with. Plus, it makes you look kind of not as cool. It's like you're hanging out with the underclassmen or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Not that you'd be a guy that would care about that, but continue
It's the first time anybody's ever said that about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
What, an underclassman?
No, just not as cool for hanging out with me.
He was trying to go... He was trying to go somewhere special with
Sorry. We can cut that out.
At any rate. No, it didn't make much sense that we would become friends, but no joke. Yeah, I probably never told you this, so why not do it here on the air?
Yeah, let's get it out.
Ever since I very first met you, and of course Ben at the time, along with Matt, were my very best friends in high school. And so Ben was in the same class. And that's how we became acquainted. But from right that time, and it's true to this day, I don't know why. It's like you were always one of my very favorite people that I ever knew. I mean that. Like, there was lots of guys. There's like 6, 7 of you, and I named the names, but you remember who there's in that class that were all big buddies. And so I'd kind of go out there and sometimes just hang out with them. Because you're right. I didn't really care about looking cool and stuff. I just, like old Dan said, you got to set the trends or follow them.
That's right.
So I didn't ever worry about anything like that. And I would go and hang out with his class most often. But I always just something there you can't explain, like just gravitated towards Andy. And that's why whenever I heard he was coming to UK, I was like, awesome, dude, let's live together. Because I always really, really liked him a lot.
That means a lot to me. And obviously the feeling's mutual. I always taken a lot from Jeff, and like I just said a minute ago, I mean, the reason I went to law school is just because he did. I mean, a lot of what I've done in my life has come from knowing this group of people.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of become who you hang out with, and not that I'm exactly like everybody in our circle, but a lot of who I am has come from those people. So that's really cool.
Well, the fact that we've had an opportunity to mention how much younger you are than Jeff, I think is really important. It's considerable.
That's what I meant. I was trying to compliment you, being a young, dashing, good-looking man. Here, I got another question for you. Which one of your children do you like best?
Yeah, that's a pretty standard interview question.
I mean,
Is that something that you're prepared for? Okay,
I am
being
not.
serious. Let me ask you this. I'm joking.
I love them
really-
all, for
Yes,
the
you
record,
do. That's right.
equally.
What about, talk about Jenna a little bit. I know that your wife is
I
really...
thought you were just going to lay the...
Okay.
Just talk about Jennifer a little
Yeah,
bit.
okay. Well,
and I'd make it good.
I love her.
Yeah.
She's my wife.
I'm being serious now. She's a big, big influence here, like as any spouses are. But you guys have a special relationship, even compared to most. I think that's a view from the outside. It's like you have
Yeah.
a real trusting, unique relationship that I just find really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, first off, I mean, she's my partner in everything. I mean, we're going through this adventure together. There's a lot going on with 3 children, one of them being a 2-year-old.
Sure.
And we have to get them all kinds of different places all the time. And both of us have jobs. Fortunately, both of our jobs are at least somewhat flexible. But, I mean, I rely on her for advice to help me get through the day, you know, and I mean, she carries more than her load around the house and with those kids. I try to pitch in when I can, but I mean, I'm not living up to her. I mean, she's, you know, this is a person who will clean the kitchen 5 times a day before she goes to bed because she's not going to leave it for somebody else not being clean. You know, I don't have that in me.
She's also an attorney. Did you say that?
Yeah, my wife isn't a lawyer. She actually works about a block and a half from here. She's over there right now.
Well, a little bit of a surprise. Hey, Jenna.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Wait till you hear which kid he likes
Yeah.
best.
He said none of them.
But yeah, Jenna's awesome. I wouldn't be the person I am without her.
Yeah. Andy, when you first joined Village Caregiving, it was how many years ago?
4 years and 1 month and a day or 2.
Wow.
That's exactly the time I've been here.
That's
With Village
Specific.
Caregiving.
That is very
Yeah, I
specific.
think my official start date was like September 2nd or 3rd of 19.
I see. And so when you came over in the executive director role for our Southern Ohio operations. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, whenever I came over, we didn't even really know exactly what I would do. Literally, Jeff was like, "Hey, man, just join the company." And I was like, "Well, what will I do?" And he's like, we'll come up with something." And then the initial idea was I was actually going to do Putnam County, believe it or not. That we was going to do Putnam County because we had Charleston and we had Barbersville, and that was a little bit of an unmined area.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, I think because Ben in Ashland was spilling over into Ohio, and we really hadn't ventured into Ohio with any type of effort or force,
Sure.
that became the idea of what I would do, is just run Ohio.
That's where we met.
And that, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was really no office. I didn't have an office that I worked out of. I worked out of 650 Main Street. And then oftentimes, because Ashland, Kentucky is right across the river from Ironton, Ohio, I would go over to the Ashland office and interview people and hang out, and was a bit of a nomad. And I did. I think I met you, Aaron, probably 2 or 3 days into the job.
Yeah.
What was your first impression of Aaron?
I think, you didn't dress as laid back then.
Okay.
You wore like button-up shirts. You, even from the jump, you kind of had a quick wit. You always knew, like, almost like an old-fashioned way of like responding to whatever there was. I've always admired that about you. You always have a way to like an old football coach or something. Like, oh, well, you know.
He's always got a saying or some reference or example.
I have that in me, but it's infrequent. Like if I get one of those, I'm like proud to do it. But my humor, I think, is different.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you were kind of, I think, helping to run Ashland, separate Ashland out, I guess. You were a lot more like, I was coming in like a little, I was already wearing like kind of laid back and, you know, I was ready to get going, but you were a lot more procedural than me. You like, when you do an interview, you'd have like a list of questions. When I did an interview, I would just ask
Day
questions.
one on the job, he wasn't trained to know what to do yet, so he was out in the landscaping pulling out weeds in a suit on his knees.
The first time I ever heard that story was last weekend. I had no idea you showed up in a suit and pulled weeds.
Yeah. There was just like the toilet was broke and they had the kit to fix it, but it was just like not fixed. The weeds were overgrowing the sign. And I was like, well, if I can't do anything else, you know, because at the time there wasn't a CRM, there wasn't really strong processes where it was all in everyone's head. And to get that out of their head was going to take some time. So I had to find something to do to show that I could contribute. And I knew how to pull weeds. I knew how to like replace the guts of a toilet. So that's what I did. I didn't know anything else to do.
What a contribution.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
What
you're right.
questions do you have for our man here?
Well, one thing that I've always admired about you, Andy, is that as you grew into your central office role, that came at a time when the company was changing and we were putting layers into, or the scaffolding around this thing as it was building. And all the time that you would have an opportunity to speak to the group, you would say things like, I'm very director friendly. And, a lot of times when you're dealing with the legal department, you're seeking general counsel's advice. It's what's the safest thing we can do today?
Is this the live phone call?
No.
I wish. That just means we're going overtime.
Yeah. But you would always reference being director friendly. And that's something that you've held true to this day. Just recently in meetings, you've said, like, I don't want this to be too much for the director. I want it to be too much of a burden. When you say that you try to remain director friendly, what does that mean for you in your role?
Well, I think that, one, I did it. And frankly, I know how bad it can suck sometimes, right? And we need to remember that. Those people are village caregiving, as much, from the caregivers up. And we need to make their jobs, as productive and we can't make their job easy, but we have to remember that the jobs can be hard.
Yeah.
And what we do has to, we have to be mindful of that. We need to genuinely help them, not pile on.
Sure.
Support them.
Right.
That's what we want to be supportive and make your day as easy as it can possibly be instead of just saying, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Go do village caregiving. Hope it comes out well. That's not the way to go about it.
Cool.
What do you think?
I don't know. Andy, every once in a while on this podcast, we do a thing called the Fishbowl.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this at all?
I will be honest. I have listened to some bits of podcasts here and there and seen clips, but you've got a pretty fresh subject here.
Yeah.
I assume there are a bunch of questions in there. I've been trying to read a few of them.
Well, it's not going to help. That's what I tell her. We could have gave you the list beforehand.
Okay.
It doesn't help. All right. So let's just...
Fishbowl.
How do you feel this time about? I know recently you've had some self-conscious thoughts.
I feel like, Sarah, we need a big trip. All the best thoughts come on trips.
Okay.
We haven't done that in a minute, so they're getting a little stale. It's probably not my proudest batch. But you never know.
Yeah. Recently, Andy, you and I attended a wedding together, and we noticed that at this wedding, they didn't say "Speak now or forever hold your peace." Did that bother you that you no longer have an opportunity to protest the holy matrimony that's unfolding before you?
Yeah, I would hope that every wedding would have that in there. That's almost like, is that even a real wedding? If some man from God knows where, or woman,
Okay.
didn't have that opportunity to speak up and profess their love for that person at that, maybe it would have swayed one of them. Yeah, I think that's not even a consummated wedding.
Wow. It shouldn't even be recognized.
Consummated might not have been the right word.
Well,
there.
I think we can keep it in there.
It's not a legally official wedding.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Can you, okay, aside from the fact that,
By God, they better have said that at my wedding. And I think they did.
well, okay, so let's say that you're not
It'd
madly,
been a bad day for the
secretly
guy who spoke up too.
madly in love with the bride who is getting married. You
Mm-hmm.
just, you're there. It's not a love thing. Can you think of another scenario where you protest the event?
I mean, first off, if you're that in love with the person getting married, you got to shoot your shot before the ceremony.
Yeah, don't
right?
wait till they're up there.
Right. I mean, you got to like hear that they got engaged and go after them right then. Right.
Okay.
That's kind of why I'd like to see it said in every single wedding I go to, because on the outside chance that one of these times numbers are what they are,
Yeah.
I'm going to get to see somebody protest this thing. And when that happens, that is hot action.
Pure fireworks.
Electricity. I mean, I'm just going to come aglow.
It
like,
would-
oh!
Instantly be the greatest wedding I've ever attended.
Yeah.
Way
Exactly.
better than my own. I don't like weddings.
You'd like that one.
That would be
Way better than my own.
awesome.
Was that part of our ceremony? Did they say speak now or forever hold your peace? I don't think so. And according to general counsel, we might need to go do it again.
I want
Yeah.
to write it into law. I think that should be like
Okay.
what you have to do.
Let's use this. What if at your wedding, Jim shows up? If there's a Jim in your life, I apologize, but Jim shows up and says, "Sarah, you can't do this. I'm the one." Do you at that point have an obligation to fight him, or are you just like fading into the bushes?
I think that I'd listen
I'd
to what
hear
he
him
has.
out.
I'd hear him out.
Mic this man up. He's got something to say.
Well, now listen. What if it's some kind of a attack on me? False. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to look like I'm just trying to shut this guy down before like I've got something to hide here. Let this buffoon make a clown of himself. And then I'm just going to be like, then I'm probably going to take the high road and just be like,
Well, what if? Let's say I'm up there with
you
Jenna.
know what? Actually, sorry. I think that was in our veils, actually.
So
I
much
remember
happening.
Yeah, well, because think about it. You know I would want to hear it. So my cousin JR was our, he performed the ceremony, a minister.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that actually, because I remember him saying that line. I've thought back about it. It wasn't, yes, we're good.
I don't remember if it was said or not. I was there.
Yeah. Oh, but you didn't protest. Thank you.
God, what if I did? Just as like a
Wait
bit
a
of
minute.
joke.
Wait a minute.
That's probably unforgivable.
That's what put this on my radar. So Jeff Heflin and I had this joke at the wedding. Obviously, we weren't really going to do it. But how funny would it be, just as a joke, because these were our friends. Mm-hmm. Might even be in the room. I don't know.
Okay.
There's several guests in here.
Yeah.
How funny would it be if they said that and both of us in unison were like, yep.
Think of how awkward.
We wouldn't have had the guts to go
Right.
through with it, but it would be
it would
comical.
it would have created one of the most.
If that were my wedding and I looked
Awkward.
back there and we saw Jeff Heflin just standing up with an objection, it would have been awesome. I would have laughed so hard. You would have too. And
Yeah.
right.
Where does Jeff Heflin rank on your favorite all-time humans on Earth?
Oh man,
I mean, clearly top 2. I don't know if you have an obligation to.
he's a star. He's a gem.
Something we have to protect.
He's one of my best friends in the world.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah. Some of my favorite things is that, like, basically 3-word text message that he sends that never has any context to it. It will just say something about what's happened in his life that morning.
Yeah, I mean we're. It was funny too. You know, Jeff was a nurse and still is for the Barboursville office when I started with the company, and it literally was like overnight we were best buddies, like in the movie Step Brothers. we were back there. We're like, hey man, like I like football. I like football too. And then we would go on these visits together we would actually go on visits and visit clients in their homes, and I would watch Jeff do the assessment, and I would talk to them about who they wanted, and it was probably the most educational thing I've ever done in my whole life. One, because I spent a lot of time with Jeff Heflin, but two, I went in those people's homes. But we got to be really, really, really good friends through that process, and still are to this day. I mean, I think I texted him probably an hour ago.
Yeah, great guy.
You guys do have probably the tightest bond. We're all huge Heflin fans, and I love the guy too. But it seems like you had an instant bond, just like you described. Kind of what I was talking about in high school, honestly.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like you can't explain it. It just is what it is.
I look at him like he's a big brother or an uncle or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's only 40.
Yeah.
You're right. According to Wade, he's in his 40s. And he looks great.
No, he looks great. Yeah.
Can I go back to the wedding thing?
Absolutely.
I can think of one scenario where I might yield.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. So let's
Yield?
say, there's.
What are you at night?
If I, whatever, or I don't know what would the word be for like
Galahad over here getting
leaving
ready
your bride at the altar. I mean,
You mean somebody objects and you walk away? Okay,
I can think
what's
of
this?
one specific thing.
Okay.
Remember that movie, Castaway?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
with
gosh.
You're right. So Tom lives on the island for God knows how long,
With
has
Wilson.
Wilson the volleyball.
Yeah.
And the love of his life, he comes back, and the love of his life
It's moved on.
has moved on, and it's pretty heartbreaking.
It's awful.
What if he got back to the mainland
In time.
right as the love of his life is getting married, and he bursts in?
What do you think about that? I need to get my answer from my loved one here.
She's already grieved your loss.
I mean, I don't know. But that to me is like the only one where I can be like, okay, this guy's got a like properly legit claim here.
I have a feeling
Okay.
that if let's say it's reversed and Sarah shows, she's been Tom Hanks, she shows back up, and I've moved on and I'm at the altar with another woman, she's going to kill me.
He's probably right.
Yeah.
It's
She's going to object to me living.
right. It's a real bad break
Yeah.
for the person on the other end. Of
Yeah,
that
who
one,
done
you know?
nothing.
They
Probably
haven't
helped-
done anything wrong.
Probably helped you through the process. They're a saint, really.
Okay,
That's a
sorry.
great point.
I don't know.
Wow.
That's the only one I can think of. Like, okay, man, this guy's got like a legit.
I
presumed
get it.
dead.
I
Yeah,
get it.
you got to huddle on that one. Take time out.
There
Let's
might not
walk
be
it.
a right answer.
Let's sidebar with the minister and figure out how we sort this out.
Look how much mileage we got out of that question.
Unbelievable, really. You think we can do one more?
We got to be super quick.
Okay, all right, super quick. Let's see what happens.
Let's limit it down to what? One sentence answer. That'll be a challenge.
Okay. Caterpillars turn into butterflies. What's up with that? Well, good luck. One sentence, Andy.
Kind of a cool example of nature.
A snake just turns into a hawk and flies off. It's bizarre.
I'm thankful to live in such a time that caterpillars can turn into butterflies. I don't know.
I mean, I think they've been able to do that throughout time.
Well, we don't know. Okay.
Now that started in the 90s.
It's everyone GMOs. Once they got GMOs involved.
Right.
Butterflies used to just come from
I don't
magic.
know.
Right. They used to just stay.
I
There
don't
was
know.
no evolution.
Did Noah put a
No
caterpillar or a
transformation.
butterfly on the ark? Is what I want to know.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah.
Let's save it for next episode. I mean, that's,
Andy's face.
I don't
I
know
gotta-
if I can touch this one.
I got to think about that. Okay.
All right, Andy. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope that we can do parts 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the very near future.
Okay.
We would
Thank
take a
you.
long time before we ran out of stuff to talk about.
We
I
didn't talk
feel
about
like-
the time you guys almost died in a car
I
together.
feel like this barely. I mean, we haven't even really
Oh.
begun here.
Oh,
Well, until next time, Andy, cheers.
Thank you.
cheers,
Yeah.
brother.
Fun.
Oh, it fell over.